Hello, hello. Thank you for joining me in my studies today. I read a book a week and externalize my studies by sharing vocal readings of the passages that are most prominent to me. This is my final day reading from Book 21, Sri Ramana Maharshi's Be As You Are. Enjoy. Page 154. A seeker makes this statement. When the mind begins to subside into the self, there's often a sensation of fear. Maharshi answers, the fear and the quaking of one's body while one is entering samadhi is due to the slight ego consciousness still remaining. But when this dies completely without leaving even a trace, one abides as the vast space of mere consciousness where bliss alone prevails and the quaking stops. Page 165. All doubts will cease only when the doubter and his source have been found. There's no use removing doubts one by one. If we clear one doubt, another doubt will arise, and there will be no end of doubts. But if, by seeking the source of the doubter is found to be really non-existent, then all doubts will cease. You may experience anything, but you should never rest content with that. Whether you feel pleasure or fear, ask yourself, who feels the pleasure or the fear? And so carry on the sadhana, or the spiritual practice, until pleasure and fear are both transcended, till all duality ceases, and till the reality alone remains. Page 167. The final obstacle in meditation is ecstasy. You feel great bliss and happiness and want to stay in that ecstasy. Do not yield to it, but pass on to the next stage, which is great calm. The calm is higher than ecstasy, and it merges into samadhi. Successful samadhi causes a waking sleep state to supervene. In that state, you know that you are always consciousness, for consciousness is your nature. Page 171. If a desire can be got rid of by satisfying it, there will be no harm in satisfying such a desire. But desires generally are not eradicated by satisfaction. Trying to root them out that way is like trying to quench a fire by pouring inflammable spirits on it. At the same time, the proper remedy is not forcible suppression, since such repression is bound to react sooner or later into a forceful surging up of desires with undesirable consequences. The proper way to get rid of a desire is to find out who gets the desire. What is its source? When this is found, the desire is rooted out and it will never again emerge or grow. Page 176. Is there creation? Only if there is creation do we have to explain how it came about. We may not know about all these theories, but we certainly know that we exist. Why not know the I, and then see if there's creation? Page 179. Are you in the world, or is the world within you? You must admit that the world is not perceived in your sleep, although you cannot deny your existence then. The world appears when you wake up. So, where is it? Page 184. On realization of the self, you will find that the reflection and the surface on which it takes place do not actually exist, but that both of them are one and the same chit, consciousness. There is the world, which requires location for its existence and light to make it perceptible. Both rise simultaneously. Therefore, physical existence and perception depend upon the light of the mind, which is reflected from the self. Just as cinema pictures can be made visible by a reflected light and only in darkness, so also the world pictures are perceptible only by the light of the self reflected in the darkness of avidya, ignorance. Page 187. Birth and rebirth pertain to the body. You are identifying the self with the body. It is a wrong identification. You believe that the body has been born and will die, and confound the phenomena relating to the body with the self. Know your real being, and these questions will not arise. Page 188. There's neither past nor future. There's only the present. Yesterday was the present to you when you experienced it, and tomorrow will be also the present when you experience it. Therefore, experience takes place only in the present, and beyond experience, nothing exists. Page 190. When the waters evaporate and return as rain on the hills, they once more flow into the form of rivers and fall into the ocean. So also the individualities during sleep lose their separateness, and yet return as individuals according to their samskaras or past tendencies. It is the same after death. The individuality of the person with samskaras is not lost. Page 197. The personal God, the supreme creator of the universe, really does exist. But this is true only from the relative standpoint of those who have not realized the truth, those people who believe in the reality of individual souls. From the absolute standpoint, the sage cannot accept any other existence than the impersonal self, one and formless. Page 198. Know that you are the perfect shining light, which not only makes the existence of God's kingdom possible, but also allows it to be seen as some wonderful heaven. To know this is alone jnana, knowledge. Therefore, the kingdom of God is within you. If one attains and knows him as he really is, it will be found that God does not know anything, because his nature is the ever real whole, other than which nothing exists to be known. Page 200. Only so long as there are other thoughts in the heart can there be a thought of God conceived by one's mind. The destruction of even that thought of God, due to the destruction of all other thoughts alone, is the unthought thought, which is the true thought of God. Page 204. You say the body suffers in this life, and ask if the cause of this is the previous life. If that is so, then the cause of that life is the one before it, and so on. So, like the case of the seed and the sprout, there is no end to the causal series. It has to be said that all the lives have their first cause in ignorance. That same ignorance is present even now, framing this question. That ignorance must be removed by jnana, knowledge. Page 205. There never was and never will be a time when all are equally happy or rich or wise or healthy. In fact, none of these terms has any meaning except insofar as the opposite to it exists. But that does not mean that when you come across anyone who is less happy or more miserable than yourself, you are not to be moved to compassion or to seek to relieve him as best you can. On the contrary, you must love all and help all, since only in that way can you help yourself. When you seek to reduce the suffering of any fellow man or fellow creature, whether your efforts succeed or not, you are yourself evolving spiritually, especially if such service is rendered disinterestedly. Not with the egotistic feeling, I am doing this, but in the spirit, God is making me the channel of this service. He is the doer and I am the instrument. If one knows the truth that all that one gives to others is giving only to oneself, who indeed will not be a virtuous person and perform the kind act of giving to others? Since everyone is one's own self, whoever does whatever to whomever is doing it only to himself. Page 207. So long as you consider yourself to be the body, you see the world as external, and the imperfections appear to you. God is perfection. His work also is perfection. But you see it as imperfection because of your wrong identification. Peace is absence of disturbance. The disturbance is due to the arising of thoughts in the individual, which is only the ego rising up from pure consciousness. To bring about peace means to be free from thoughts and to abide as pure consciousness. If one remains at peace oneself, there's only peace everywhere.